In the kingdom of Hatoria, the Sangres are being incarcerated by Hagorn, the prince of Hatoria. The only way for the Sangres to escape and return to Lorea is by killing Hagorn using their powerful gems. The gems of measures of dispersion, which are owned by Sangre Jerengel and Sangre Shela, and the gem of Z-Scores, which is owned by Sangre Queen, and the gem of Box and Whiskers, which is owned by Sangre Samantha, which has a plan to betray them. These gems can be utilized in order to know how close or far the data or values are from each other. These are also helpful in describing whether the groups being studied or the data gathered are heterogeneous or homogeneous, dispersed, varied, distant, spread, or just clustered or close to each other. For them to escape into the kingdom of Hatoria, they should be able to present and explain the measures of variation, understand the significance of Z-scores in order to determine the overall performance of a certain group, and use the box and whisker plot as a powerful graphical technique for comparing samples from two or more different treatments or populations.
Via Hagorn, in my hand flows peace. I am Sangre Angel, and with the help of my gem, which is the measure of dispersion, that means the degree of variation, measures the degree of the spread of the values, we will be able to beat you. Using the first measure of variation, the range, I could easily estimate everything. I could tell the difference between the highest and the lowest chance of your survival. Even if you have a lot of servants in the group, I could calculate and defeat them by subtracting the lower boundary of the lowest class interval from the upper boundary of the highest class interval. Given the example 10, 12, 12, and 14, r equals 14 minus 10, so the range is equal to 4. And with the help of the second measure of the variation, the interquartile range, I will have a more reliable measure of the variability by splitting a dataset into 4 equal quartiles. It is calculated as the difference between the 75th percentile Q3 and the 25th percentile Q1 of the data, and is a way to identify the spread of the middle 50% of the data. Given the example Q1 is equal to 42.25 and Q3 equals 52.3. IR equals 52.3 minus 42.25 is equal to 7.05. The quartile deviation is the third measure of the dispersion, which will provide me a simple way to estimate the spread of the distribution about the measure of its tendency. So it gives me an idea about the range within the central 50% of the sample where my power lies. I just have to divide the difference of the Q3 and Q2 by 2. Given the example Q1 equals 42.25 and Q3 equals 52.3. QD equals 52.3 minus 42.25 divided by 2 equals 7.05 divided by 2. So the QD is equal to 3.525. As you can see, Hagorn, my gem is too powerful. So, EV continuity.
I agree with Sangre Jerry. Avisala Eshma. I am Sangre Shela, holding the gem of mean deviation. In addition to Sangre Jerry, mean deviation is a measure of variation that makes use of all the scores in distribution. And to solve the mean deviation using ungroup data, I will use the formula mean deviation is equals to summation of the absolute value of x minus x bar over n. Example, the dataset of 6, 7, 10, 12, 13, 14, 8, and 12, the answer or the mean deviation is 2.73. And for the group data, I will use the formula x bar is equals to summation of f and x over n. Given the dataset of 40, 49, 50, 59, 60, 69, 70, 79, 80, 89, 90 to 100, the answer is 73.8. On the other hand, variance is the average squared deviation from the mean, while standard deviation is the square root of this number. The formula of ungrouped data, standard deviation is equal to square root of summation of x minus x squared over n. Given the set of 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, standard variance is 1.41. While the formula of group data is standard deviation is equal to square root of summation of square deviation over the n minus 1. Whereas the class interval is 50 to 59, 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, and 90 to 100. the standard deviation is 12.3. The power granted of mean represents the location of the center of your data, while standard deviation represents the spread in your data. Go and hide Hagorn because will find you.
Sheda di ni Luna Hagorn. I am Sangri Queen who owns the gem of Z-scores, also known as standard score. A Z-score is an example of a standardized score. A Z-score measures how many standard deviation a data point is from the mean in a distribution. As proof, given the following data, in which aspect does my gem most powerful? To get a statistical formula for each of the values of Z-score, it is calculated using the following formula. Z is equal to X minus mu over sigma. Here are the values of the Z-scores in each of the usage of my gem. In helping people, the value of the Z-score is 3.3, while in predicting calamities, Z-score is equal to -1. And lastly, the Z-score of healing usage is equal to 1.14. So, my gem is powerful in helping people because it has the highest value of the Z-score, which is equal to 3.33. A Z-score is significant because it indicates where your data falls in the data distribution. It allows us to compute the chance of a score happening within a typical normal distribution and compare two scores from different samples. Prepare to die, Hagorn, because this will cause your death.
I notice that I am the weakest. Pashnea, I want to be the most powerful Sangre in Encantadia. I have here the gem of Box in the Whiskers plot. It is an excellent way to visualize differences among groups. This will help me determine which gem is the most powerful, the gem of Sangre Jerry or the gem of Sangre Queen. I can use the box plot to compare the performance of the two gems, which have different powers. The power specification ranging from 50 to 100, 50 being the weakest power and 100 as the highest power. The gem of Sangre Jerry has the minimum power of 70% and 100% as its maximum power, while the gem of Sangre Queen scores has the minimum power of 50% and 80% as its maximum power. The gem of Sangre Jerry appears to have a high range of power and is centered to the power specification, while the gem of Sangre Queen have a higher range of power. However, it is centered to the lower side of the power range specification. To be the most powerful Sangre in Encantadia, I therefore need the gem of Sangre Jerry.
Viserte, Sangre Jerry, and Shella are able to present and explain the measures of variation. Indeed, the degree of variation measures the degree of the spread of the values. Sangre Queen recognized the significance of Z-scores to determine overall performance, as Z-scores measure how many standard deviations an observation is above or below the mean. Lastly, Sangre Samantha used the box and whisker plot to summarize the set of data.